With all the big and exciting things coming to Epic Universe when it opens in 2025, it might be hard to believe that this is only the beginning for this brand new resort. Even with the 4 main lands coming to the park, Universal has plenty more space to expand within the coming years. In fact, Epic Universe only uses a small chunk of the massive area Universal has to work with. The possibilities are endless, from new hotels, restaurants, and rides, all the way to a 4th major theme park. The potential that Universal could unlock here is truly staggering. So let's scratch the surface of that potential as we take a closer look at the near and far future of this upcoming park. This is the finale of my 6-part series discussing everything you need to know about Epic Universe before it opens in 2025. These videos can be watched individually or in any order, but if you'd like, you can watch the previous entries in this series using the playlist in the description. If you enjoy, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Epic Universe content in the near future. Also, all sources used in these videos can be found in the description below. With all that out of the way, thank you so much for the support, and let's get into the analysis. Before we move into the main area of land, let's head up Universal Boulevard to address this separate plot. As it stands right now, it seems very likely that this will be used for more hotel space, which is certainly a smart move. I expect these hotels to be similar to the current offerings at the main Universal Orlando Resort, but if I had to pick one I'd like to see them replicate, it'd be Cabana Bay. This hotel has good capacity, really nice theming, and overall fairly inexpensive room prices. Not to mention, it seems to be a hit, so Universal would be smart to take a page from that book. Still, any hotel Universal chooses to build should do well regardless of cost. Because of that fact, I'd expect Universal to start work here as soon as they see demand for it, which considering how amazing this park looks, should be pretty soon after it opens. Now let's take a look at the main plot of land, starting with one of the admittedly less exciting rumors. When it opens, Epic Universe will likely just have a regular old parking lot, as we see at most theme parks today. However, as future expansion occurs, they should be constructing a similar structure to what's seen at the current Universal Orlando parks. Again, I know this isn't the most exciting thing in the world, but I am certainly looking forward to it. While I understand why Universal is going with a parking lot at first, mainly due to the immense cost of a structure like that, I much prefer the way it's done at Universal Studios and Island of Adventure. Not only do you walk less, but you don't have to do it in the immense Florida heat. It also means your car is cooler when you return, which is a huge perk. Even with how great this should be, I would only expect it to be built when absolutely necessary. For example, Universal Studios Orlando opened with a parking lot as well, but as the resort expanded to include CityWalk and Islands of Adventure, a relocated parking situation was necessary. Essentially, I wouldn't expect this structure to open for years or even decades down the line, as the resort expands into something much larger than what we see today. That expansion would begin with a second CityWalk, similar to what's currently seen at the main resort. The present-day CityWalk connects the parking structure to the 2 parks through a series of dining and shopping opportunities. It makes sense Universal would want to replicate that here, considering it entices people to stay at the resort longer and spend more of their money. I'm not sure what exactly the second CityWalk will offer though, or how it'll separate itself from the original. Regardless, this makes a ton of sense, although I wouldn't expect an expansion like this until we see what happens to the plot of land to the right of it. Yes, you read that right, it's actually possible that Universal could be considering a 4th theme park, utilizing this 110-acre plot of land to the right of the resort. Of course, this wouldn't see the light of day for years or even decades, but it appears that Universal is thinking ahead by setting aside this area. Even though these plans could just as easily change, I think it would make a lot of sense. Islands of Adventure was a huge success, allowing Universal to implement more IP and convince guests to add more days onto their visit. More days in the parks means more nights in the hotels, which means even more money for Universal. In the end, a 4th park could be a very good business decision. However, I have another proposal. With the minimal water rides Epic Universe currently offers, I'm wondering if a water park might be a smarter idea. Think of how Six Flags or Cedar Fair does it, connecting their water park close by to the dry park to convince guests to stay even longer. Of course, unlike those other offerings, I doubt this would be included with admission, but Universal could bundle water park tickets with Epic Universe tickets in order to entice guests. Again, this is just an idea I had, and it certainly has its flaws, but I thought it was an interesting proposal. Regardless, I would definitely prefer a fourth main theme park, considering all the exciting IP Universal could implement into it. Before we get to all the major plots in Epic Universe, let's touch on all the smaller ones. The How to Train Your Dragon area seems to have an expansion plot located in the back of the land, which could very well be for a future edition. While more flat rides or similar smaller stuff could be possible, I see Universal going for a more major edition. My logic is this. Imagine Universal announces an expansion to Diagon Alley, but instead of a new dark ride or VR attraction, it's just a carousel. It just doesn't make sense for them to push back a smaller ride like that for a future expansion, rather than just having it open with the park, if that makes any sense. If I had to make a guess, a slow-moving dark ride would be a safe bet. Maybe an Omnimover like Yoshi's Adventure at Super Nintendo World, or a calm boat ride like Navi River Journey at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Basically, I wouldn't expect anything too intense or involved, but I wouldn't expect anything tiny either. Next up, Universal's most popular property, Harry Potter. I've already discussed the uncertain fate of this land's proposed VR attraction, with it unlikely to come to the park in 2025. While it could very well open in 2026 or 2027 instead, I wonder if Universal may wait for the right idea to come. Technology is always improving, so in the next 5 years, we could see a whole new exciting and innovative idea. It could even do what Hagrid's did to Forbidden Journey, making a ride so good it turns the major tentpole attraction into a mere supporting one. Maybe that's just wishful thinking, but even a solid secondary ride in that land would do wonders. People love Harry Potter, so the more capacity in that area, the better. At the other end of the park, one ride we're a bit more certain about is a Creature from the Black Lagoon boat ride. Located in the back of the Universal Monsters land, the plans for this ride seem to be pretty far along. It's uncertain whether this will be an intense boat ride like Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls, or something calmer like the first half of Jurassic Park River Adventure. Of course, the best case scenario is something atmospheric and scary like the former Jaws attraction, which it may take inspiration from. Whatever it is, this ride only makes me more excited for the Universal Monsters land. This land is easily my most anticipated as is, and this ride only makes it more apparent why. Last but not least, when it comes to the smaller plots, there's a tiny piece of land located on the right of Super Nintendo World. While it's not necessarily connected to Super Nintendo World, this plot could very well be for a Nintendo property. I wouldn't expect a huge franchise like Pokemon or Zelda, but a smaller IP that's Mario adjacent would make sense here. One idea I really like is a Luigi's Mansion Dark Ride. While Luigi's Mansion is technically its own franchise, the association with Mario is fairly obvious, like with the Donkey Kong attraction. While anything Luigi's Mansion themed would make me very happy, I'd expect some sort of shooting dark ride. Guests would hunt for ghosts alongside Luigi, which I think is a fairly straightforward premise, and utilizes interactivity as we see in the rest of the land. Even so, this plot could just as easily hold something unrelated to Nintendo. There are more boring options like a new shop or restaurant, which would actually make a bit of sense, but an idea I like the sound of is a clone of the Secret Life of Pets attraction from Universal Studios Hollywood. It would easily fit into this area, and be a nice addition for the family audience Universal is trying to appeal to. While I'd prefer a Luigi's Mansion ride, I'd still be happy with this one. That's all the smaller plots out of the way, but Universal has 2 bigger plots of land set aside for Epic Universe, on top of the 110 acres set aside for the potential 4th park. There's a smaller 7-acre plot between Super Nintendo World and the Universal Monsters area, and a massive 20-acre plot tucked behind the Hub's Dueling Roller Coaster. Rather than speculating what each plot could hold, let's take a look at the 3 biggest rumors for lands as it currently stands today. 2 of these IPs come from their partnership with Nintendo, starting off with the single most popular property in the world. Pokémon is an absolute no-brainer. While not exactly owned by Nintendo, it appears Universal has the theme park rights for this franchise as well. It makes a ton of sense to make a Pokémon-themed land. As previously mentioned, this is the world's most popular franchise, and Universal has so much lore to work with from the games to the anime. Not to mention, the merchandising opportunities are immense. Of course, there's the basic stuff like buttons, shirts, and plushies, but Universal could also push a new interactive element for their parks. A Pokeball system that allows you to catch Pokemon throughout the land seems ingenious, and would make Universal a massive amount of money. In theory, this land would be perfect, but it's just hard for me to picture at Epic Universe. Not too hard to picture though, don't get me wrong. If Universal jumps the gun and includes this franchise as soon as they can, I wouldn't be shocked. However, having two video game IPs in the same park which both have a very cartoony and colorful aesthetic seems a bit repetitive. The current lands at Epic Universe each have separate art styles and tones, while Pokemon and Mario overlap a bit in those categories. For that reason, I'm hoping Universal finds a place for this IP in their other two parks, or even pushes it to the fourth one. I wouldn't be upset if it comes to Epic Universe, not at all in fact, but I'll admit I don't see it as the best option. If the money is there and there's no better place for it, they'll definitely make a Pokemon land here, but I think there's more fitting IP to have in this park that differentiate themselves from the rest. One of those properties is The Legend of Zelda. It does sort of have that same problem as Pokemon, being a second Nintendo IP in the same park, but I think it makes a lot more sense tonally. Zelda is certainly a more mature franchise, and nowhere near as colorful as Mario or Pokemon, depending on the game of course. There's also plenty of lore to work with, originating all the way back from 1986. If it comes down to one more Nintendo IP at Epic Universe, I'd prefer Zelda, but there's no doubt in my mind they'd go with Pokemon instead. Pokemon just has that wide appeal, and all those merchandising opportunities I discussed before. I'd still love to see Zelda come to the parks in some form, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that form is simply a replacement for the Sinbad Theater in the Lost Continent. A full land and Islands of Adventure would be preferred, but with Poseidon's Fury being refurbished so recently, it doesn't seem very likely. Overall, I think Nintendo will have a huge presence in Universal's parks shortly after Super Nintendo Land opens in 2025. The IP that makes me most excited though is Lord of the Rings. In my opinion, this is the franchise most deserving of a theme park land. Middle-earth is such a vast world with so many possibilities, from the films to the original books. Universal has shown their interest in this franchise before, with plans being rumored for several years at this point. Now, with a huge 20-acre plot available in their brand new park, I think it's only a matter of time before we see this massive new land. I'm a bit concerned about the rights to this franchise as it seems to have gotten a bit complicated as of late, but I'm sure it's a hurdle that Universal is willing to jump. As for the rides themselves, there's been a prominent rumor about a raft ride down a river, which could be pretty fun. Otherwise, I'd expect a large dark ride as the tentpole for this land, although admittedly I have no big ideas for it. Whatever Universal comes up with though should be incredible. In the end, if this land actually came to be, it would quickly become my favorite. Imagining the incredible theming Universal could do to bring this world to life makes me incredibly excited. Overall, I hope to see this land come to Epic Universe, and I think it makes a lot of sense. It's fairly different than anything else in the park, and targets an audience that doesn't often overlap with the other franchises represented. As a whole, this would be a smart move, and a welcome addition to what may already be the world's best theme park. With that, all the rumors have been covered, without going too far into speculative territory. As you can see, the future of this park may be even more exciting than its opening years. From small yet important stuff like additional hotels and a second CityWalk, to massive new projects like an entire fourth theme park, the future of Epic Universe looks incredibly bright. Even if all this is years away, Universal has so much potential to innovate in the theme park industry. Here's hoping they take full advantage of that potential, working hard on the next big thing for their Orlando resort. And that's a wrap on my Epic Universe analysis. Kind of. I'm planning to compile this series into one big video essay in the near future, so look out for that soon. Otherwise, I'd like to thank you all so much for the incredible support I've seen on this series. I never expected to reach 1,000 subscribers so soon. It's amazing to see how many people enjoy content like this, and I'm glad we all share the same excitement for what Universal is cooking up. Thank you all, and I'll see you again in the next video.